What's up, everybody? It's Spencer Alessi, and this is the Esports Narrative. What's up, everybody? This is episode 31 of the Esports Narrative, and I have a guest tonight. His name is Jordan O'Hara. He is at O'Hara Biz on Twitter. He was a co-founder of Novo Gaming and is now the head of marketing for EsportsOne, which I'm sure he will tell you about when we get into it. Jordan, thanks for joining us tonight, and thanks for spending some time with us.
Absolutely, Spencer. Thanks for having me on. It's a pleasure.
Awesome. So first, I'd like to just hear how you got into the video game scene. Now, I know reading into you a little bit and reading your website, you are an IT guy and you kind of had a passion for esports for a while and just, decided to take some action on that, just a few years ago, I think it was, or something like that I was reading on your website. But let's go back a little bit further. How did you get into video games? What was video games like growing up for you? What did that mean to you growing up?
Yeah, absolutely. So, growing up, I come from a fairly conservative household, and so one thing we didn't have growing up was the newest gaming consoles. So actually, until I moved out of my parents' house, the only console that I owned was a Super Nintendo. Which
nice.
Which my parents didn't even buy. It was gifted to them on their wedding, I believe. So I grew up playing, the classics, Super Mario World, Donkey Kong Country, super old Madden, lots of classic titles. And then I just kept playing those growing up because that's all I had access to. So I got very good at Super Mario World, very good at Donkey Kong Country. And then eventually, kind of as a result of not really having gaming consoles, I kind of graduated to PC gaming, which is where I've really stayed ever since I was maybe 15, 16 years old. Probably around 16 or 17, I discovered League of Legends, which is where I'd say I took the dive into becoming a full-time nerd. And yeah, I've played League of Legends since about 16, 17 years old. Fell in love with it, probably a little too much. And yeah, ever since then it's just been, I played League of Legends for a long time. That's the game I've played most for the past 6 or 7 years. And then there's always little games on the side, whether it's Skyrim or this MMO or that. Most recently it's PUBG.
Yeah, nice. So what was your first exposure to esports? Was it League of Legends? Did you find the competitive side of that interesting, or what was your first exposure to esports?
Yeah, it was the professional. It was the LCS. Started watching. I discovered it was a thing. Was blown away. That was really my first exposure to esports. So yeah, I started watching NALCS, and then that expanded to the EU LCS, and then I started really following the teams and players individually, and from there I started branching out. I was playing a bit of Call of Duty at the time. I started watching professional Call of Duty, some professional Counter-Strike, started watching some professional Hearthstone when it came out. But yeah, League of Legends has a special place in my heart because it was the first game I really put serious time into, and the first esports title that I started following.
Nice. Now, fast forward us to your career in IT. So I read on your website, were an IT guy. Tell us a little bit about that, and why did you get into IT?
Sure. So I moved out of my parents' house when I was 18. We have a great relationship now, but at the time there was just a little bit of tension there. So I got out pretty early, and I was in the midst of college, and I was going to college, working an IT job because that's something I realized I was good at in high school. Started out in high school, I took a bunch of IT classes and helped the high school's help desk. My first job out of high school was a summer internship at the public school IT department. And then that moved on to an internship at a call center, doing IT there for Navy Federal Credit Union that I did for a couple of years. And then I went to work as a junior systems administrator for a defense contractor. And then I moved on to another help desk / junior systems administrator position at a government contractor as well. So it was kind of necessity in a way. I realized it was something I was good at. It wasn't something I was super passionate about, but I could do it. I was a bit lazy back then, so I could do it without a ton of effort.
Right. I got you.
And then and also, I currently only have my associate's degree, right? So it was tough to pay for college and work at the same time, being out on my own. So and you didn't in IT, you don't really need a bachelor's degree unless you're trying to get into management. Isn't really a big requirement. You can take a lot of certificates. So I was like, okay, I'll just work and get certificates.
Nice.
That's not that big of a deal in IT. So continued growing that career, and then eventually I just hit a point where I was just started. My routine was I would wake up, go to work, which entailed like an hour and a half commute both ways. Work full day, come home, play video games till I pass out, and then repeat. Mm-hmm. And after doing that for a couple of years, I just started getting pretty depressed. Video games for the first couple of years were enough for me to just kind of drown out the kind of nagging in the back of my head that I didn't really care about what I was doing, and that I kind of dreaded going to work every morning. It's like, I can come home and play video games, and then eventually that stopped being enough, and I was like, all right, the problem is root problem of this is that I'm not working on something I'm passionate about. So let's fix that problem. So I started trying to figure out what I liked. I knew I liked playing League of Legends and other games, and I was discovering I really loved esports. So I tried everything from blogging, or rather doing League of Legends journalism for an existing site that they brought me on as a journalist. And then that wasn't my thing, so I tried starting my own site where I contracted other journalists. Not really my thing. Tried Twitch streaming. That went okay for a little while. Again, not really my thing. And then after a couple other small projects that were even shorter lived than those, I decided to try and found an amateur esports organization, because I was still following professional League of Legends and other titles every day, and thought that was really cool. So tried that out, and long story short, I founded Colossus Esports. 0 followers across any social media accounts, no big names signed, and over the course of a year and a half, went through the process of growing that from 0 to 10 to 15,000 followers across accounts, and a couple sponsors, and a few semi-pro teams. And so that went well. Then moved on to be the co-founder of Nuovo Gaming, which was a professional organization out of Australia, where we had the best StarCraft 2 player in the region who traveled and competed internationally for us. Challenger Series League of Legends team, top 4 Counter-Strike teams. That was legit. And then I was recruited on to EsportsOne as the head of marketing there.
Nice. That's a good summary, and I didn't even have to ask you those few questions, because those were a couple of my next questions. You read my mind.
Oh, yeah.
So why marketing, and what is it you do for EsportsOne, and in terms of what's your title there?
It is the head of marketing.
Okay, so you're head of marketing for EsportsOne. What does that mean? And tell listeners what you do, and kind of give us some information on what that means and what it looks like.
Sure. So I think the reason I got into marketing was because just a lot of the projects that I'd previously worked on in esports really kind of revolved around marketing. When you're building an amateur esports organization, unless you are really rich, which I've seen a couple of people build them that way, or you have investment from some source, or you have some miracle, or you're really close friends with a professional player and you're able to sign them right away. It's quite a grind. It takes a long time to build up an amateur organization just out of pocket with no funding, sponsors, or professional players. Mm-hmm. And a lot of that, I think, is just marketing and community building. You need to you'll sign a Call of Duty team, and by sign I mean you'll send them jerseys, and they'll play for you. You have to still take that team that wouldn't stand a chance in the semi-professional leagues, and promote the crap out of them, and build a fan base around your brand off of those players. And then as the fan base grows, you can start signing better players and whatnot. So, and it's a cycle that you repeat. So a lot of that was just marketing, and I didn't really know it at the time because, again, my background was in IT. I was just figuring things out as I went along. But then, yeah, so I think a lot of it just had to do with marketing. And one thing I would like to say is I talked a lot about trying to figure out that I felt like I needed to find what my passion was to work on it. It took me about two and a half years to 3 years, somewhere in that time frame, of working my full-time job in IT while I just came home every evening and worked on whatever esports project I was doing at the time, until I finally got into a position where I could quit my 9-to-5 IT job. So, a lot of people talk about, pursuing your passions, doing what you're passionate about. Maybe they don't talk about the grind too much, but it's a lot of work, but it's definitely worth it to work on something that you care about.
Yeah. Now, what is EsportsOne? Fill us in on a little bit of what EsportsOne is and what it is in terms of the data bot. I heard that name being thrown out there. Explain a little bit about that.
Sure. So EsportsOne, our catchphrase is enhancing the esports viewing experience. So at a high level, you would go on to EsportsOne and you would see a professional. At launch, we're going to be supporting League of Legends and eventually expanding into other titles, but I'll talk from the League of Legends perspective because that's what I know best. So you'll go on the site and you'll see a professional, League of Legends game being played. And surrounding the stream, the live stream panel or whatever, there will be panels beneath the stream, to the sides of the stream, above the stream. You'll be able to click into those panels and add modules. And those, there's a ton of modules that we're creating. Some are educational, some are very heavy database for the data nerds out there. Some are very visual. So basically, you'll be able to surround this live stream of a professional match with whatever information you want, whatever interests you. If you really care about digging down into the stats and seeing the goal difference per second between these teams and players, or damage dealt, or minions killed, you can see stats updated to the second. And there's also much more visual information, like let's see, a mini map that shows where every player currently is, but also shows a path behind them of where they've been for like the past 15 seconds. Mm-hmm. Or the data bot, as you mentioned, which is kind of a live feed that our data bot narrates to you of what's happening in game. So anything from kills to objectives taken to CS kind of goals hidden or gold level goals hidden, items bought, wards placed. It'll narrate what's happening in game to you that it sees that you might not catch because you're focused on the major action. It'll kind of sense what's happening in the background and tell you, and you can fine tune that. If you don't care about every time Biofrost places a ward, click show me less of this.
So you're taking the things that maybe, like you said, were too quick, that happened too quick, or you're taking data points from these games or these matches and displaying them on the screen to kind of pull out some important highlights of the game to show to the viewer, so they can kind of interact and participate more in the game. So it's not just watching the game, it's interacting with stats and scores and things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. We're trying to make it much more engaging. One of the ways we're doing that is integrated into the data bot. There will be a wagering system with virtual currency that we'll have on our site. So things like who's going to take the first tower, and you can wager your virtual currency on that. And it'll track which team took the first tower and update that wager real time and pay out your winnings or whatever.
And is there going to be real currency behind that?
We are undecided at the moment if we're going to kind of do a crypto sort of thing.
You know what I mean? Because that could be an interesting way to monetize on a platform, right? If you have microtransactions or something like that, or perks of some sort, that would be kind of interesting, right?
Yeah, so there definitely is going to be a kind of microtransactional system built into the virtual currency. It's not going to have a place, like you're not going to be able to go to a new tab and exchange it for USD, just because that has a lot of legal ramifications that we need to work through still. But you will, for instance, be able to. So we're trying to make this. We want to allow every esports fan, whether they're free account, paid account, anything, to enhance their esports viewing experience. So the majority of content on the site will be 100% free. You all will also have the addition to upgrade to a premium account for a monthly fee, or you can take this virtual currency you've won and purchase or unlock a module.
Cool.
Also, then the wagering, and then we plan on having some sort of reward shop where you can purchase virtual currency for various games you might be playing, or gift cards for various games and whatnot.
Yeah, it sounds pretty sweet. So when does it launch? You have beta out right now, or when's it going up?
Yeah, so we're accepting beta signups right now. Still working on closing out our round of funding and finishing development of the League of Legends side of the platform. So we're looking to start sending out beta invites this year. And then once we start sending out beta and not sending out beta invites in slow waves, but inviting everyone that signed up for our beta as fast as possible before the end of this year is the goal. And then
awesome.
Kind of iterate on their feedback to make the League of Legends platform as good as possible. And then start expanding into additional titles. PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds is an option. We need to see how that scene develops a little bit more. But, Hearthstone is up for grabs, Overwatch, Counter-Strike, Call of Duty.
Awesome. So I wanted to talk a little bit about marketing. So when you're going through this process and you're in these beta stages and you're developing the platform and things like that, how do you define your target audience? And, maybe this is just, general advice. You don't have to talk specifically for EsportsOne, because I understand some of it is, you might not be able to talk about. But in general, from a marketing standpoint, how do you define your target audience?
Yeah, it really, there's tons of research out there on pretty much any demographic you could want. So the esports demographic is pretty well defined in terms of age, and they're mostly male. They're mostly like 18 to 35, 34 or 35. Most of them, or the majority of college degrees, they earn higher on average than the average income of Americans, at least. Yeah, that's most of what I recall offhand.
Yeah.
So you there's lots of organizations out there that do market research. So you want to start there to kind of, if you're going to do any sort of advertising, to kind of start out and then refine down based on the results you're seeing in your advertising campaigns. In esports, it's not crazy hard to define the audience, because at least again in America, I have a feeling it would be harder in Europe because you have fans on a more global scale. Americans do have global fans, but an organization based out of Germany will have probably an equal mixture of fans from Germany and England and France and whatnot.
Yeah, and different languages too, right? I mean, it probably makes it more difficult in Europe and in Asia and Australia and everywhere has they have their own different languages. Brazil, New Zealand, like you said, yeah.
Yeah, so you need to keep that in mind for sure. I mean, we definitely have people that have signed up that we've engaged with and talked to that are different nationalities outside of America, which is great. That's one of the great things about esports is it's when you do something in the esports industry, you are just by default going to reach a global audience. But that's also something you need to take into account. On your site, you want to start trying to have translations of different things available for different countries based on where you're seeing the most traffic from, most interest from. So
how do you, if let's say you're running an organization or you're running a team or you have a product or service or something like that, like you guys have it as a platform, how do you know if your message or your content or what you're putting out to promote or market or brand your product or service or team or organization, how do you know if the content that you're putting out is effective? Like, do you measure it by the amount of views, engagement, or do you have download count in terms of like my podcast, for example. What are some ways you can, measure the effectiveness of the marketing efforts that you're doing?
Sure. So the most important, in my opinion, the most important key step for that is determining your KPI, which is just kind of the most important metric for you. So for you, like you mentioned, you track downloads of your podcast. So for you, that's much more important than say you allowed people to sign up on your website and they could optionally download the podcast after that. Some people might track like, oh, I have way more signups on my site than downloads, and they track signups, but really what matters is the downloads. So you just want to make sure you define that KPI that you're tracking very carefully. You want to put a lot of thought into that. Like Facebook, when they were exploding, their big statistic that they tracked was daily active users. Daily active users, or maybe it was monthly active users. One of them. It was active users though, whereas all the other, and this was before they kind of took over the social media scene. So it was when MySpace was kind of still competing, and other platforms were still better competing with them, and pretty much every other platform out there measured it as monthly users, so total signups. Where Facebook's like, we don't care about, or we care about, but it's not important to our statistics, in terms of how we're doing. The total monthly users, that doesn't matter. We could have 10,000, monthly users and only 10 of them log in, and that's all that matters. So you need to take some time and think about what metric you want to define, and then hold yourself accountable. There are going to be times where the metric is saying numbers or things that you don't like, and instead of trying to just it's an anomaly, it's not something to worry about, it'll be better next week, next month, really hold yourself accountable to the analytics and to that metric that you said. That should really be the North Star for your company and all your coworkers. So yeah, I mean, for us, at the moment, that KPI is beta signups, because when you're have a beta sign up and that's just about it, that's all that matters. When you're running an esports organization, depending on the level that you're at, if you're an amateur organization, it's more than likely the engagement that you get, the reach and the engagement that you get on your posts. So yeah.
What's the biggest mistake you've seen teams make or organizations make when it comes to marketing or promoting their product or service or their team or brand?
Yeah, I think that if we're going to talk about like amateur organizations or kind of very new startup companies from more inexperienced founders, it's, if you're working on a project like that, it's, most of the time it's because you're very passionate about it. And it's something you believe in. If it's, it's a startup that you founded, it's, you really believe in the idea and you think it's the best thing in the world. If it's a team, you're super passionate about the brand. It can be very easy to let yourself think that everyone else that follows you cares about everything you have to say. They don't. They want to be entertained. You will get some of those super fans that'll like and retweet and share and favorite and whatever every single thing you post. But that's the exception to the rule. So you don't like, as an organization, you don't just want to post things related to your players and your brand, or like, oh, here, look at our rebrand of our logo for the 10th time. You want to post unique, engaging content. I know that's said all the time, but you want to post unique, engaging content, at least in a ratio with self-promoting posts. You don't want to be promoting a stream or sign up on our website, or follow me on Twitch, whatever, every single tweet, because people will get really tired of it and your numbers will go down, your reach will go down. You want to weave those into your other unique, engaging posts that are either asking questions of or talking, opening a dialogue with the community, or showing them interesting things, and infographics, statistics, whatever. So I think self-promotion 80% of the time, and unique content 20% of the time, is the biggest mistake when it should be reversed.
Yeah, you want to be providing value to people.
Yeah.
And who follow you, and people will ultimately find the content that hooks to some positive benefit to you, like subscribing to your email list or something like that. People will eventually find those kinds of things, and I think it's important to be providing value in terms of entertainment or utility or something funny. You got to be providing something of value to the other person in exchange for what you're asking.
Exactly. It's so many people nowadays. It's like if I just met a girl and I'm like, hey, we're out, we have a great night, and I'm like, hey, you want to get married? That's a little sudden, little forward, a little too soon. It's kind of like the same thing. It's like, hey, I followed your organization on Twitter because they look really cool. Oh, hey, go and buy our t-shirts. Hey, go and sign up, follow our Twitch and sign up for our email list. And like, it's immediately you follow someone or sign up for something, and immediately you're bombarded with the upsell, rather than kind of taking some time to establish that you're providing value and take for free, and take time to establish trust through that and show that, hey, I'm actually providing value, whether it's, like you said, informational, entertainment, whatever. You are providing value and it's for free, and build that trust and then upsell them like later, not the same day, not the next day.
Yeah. It's funny that you mention it, because I think of dating, right? It's like, social media you can kind of equate it to dating. When you have a product or service, or you're selling something, or you're promoting a team, or anything, you got to think of it like dating. You don't just go in for the kiss, right when you meet the person, or right at dinner, or whatever it is. There's courtship that goes on, there's there's a relationship building, and then you go in for the ask, or download this, or subscribe here, or give me money here. You have to build a relationship and court your viewer, your audience, so to speak.
Exactly. Absolutely. And you really need to think about things over the long term. It might feel good to get another subscriber or another download, tomorrow or today. But if you play it smarter and build that value and trust, you'll get many more subscribers down the road.
Yeah, for sure. Now, talking bigger picture, how is esports impacting media today? Like media or marketing or social engagement? How is esports impacting those things? You see a lot of numbers, that the current, number of people in esports are X amount, or the current valuation for esports in general is X amount. How do you think it's impacting media today, and what do you see it doing in the future to like disrupt things or change the way that we consume media or engage with brands and things like that?
Yeah, it's God, I could talk about this for too long, so just stop me whenever you see fit.
No worries.
But so God, there's so many things, especially over the last year or two. I mean, the NBA 2K League, that's a great example. You see these professional, sports, traditional sports rather, just huge conglomerates, organizations realizing that, hey, there's so much viewership and so much brand building potential in esports that we really need to try and get a piece of that. Do I think the NBA 2K League will work out? That's another question entirely. But there are esports movies being produced, like legitimate Hollywood movies. I think one that I've read about, I forget what it's called, but it has a legitimate like Hollywood, A-tier star in it, comedian I think in it, and
was it the Will Ferrell one? Wasn't there?
Yeah, I think that's what it was that I was thinking of.
Yeah.
God, I gotta try and pull it up real quick.
I know, right? It's like right in the tip of my tongue. I'm trying to think of it, but I get what you're saying now. Yeah.
But it looks like it didn't have a title yet, but it looks like he was going to star in a movie about esports. Or is. I was thinking of Robin Williams for a second, my bad. Yeah, so let's see, movies. Um, obviously there's the expansion of esports onto TV channels in the West. You have ESPN3, I think it is, that publishes some esports events, usually in the Blizzard space, I think. Obviously, you have E-League that's gotten great results for its sponsors. With Buffalo Wild Wings, I know is one of them. There's a couple others as well.
Yeah, they had Arby's.
Yes, Arby's. Yeah. So you have it's just expanding into every traditional media and traditional sport arena because people are realizing what a brand, like it's a way to reach a demographic that they've had a hard time reaching, right? The amount of millennials and Gen Xers that or I think that's Gen Xers, whatever the generation that came after millennials are.
Uh-huh.
What they're watching is not football, not near as much football, not near as much basketball. And you can't just throw advertisements on TV or on websites and expect them to click through and buy it. Brands actually have to take a lot more time and effort to build loyalty with those demographics. And esports is, gaming and esports, whether it's watching entertaining live streams on Twitch or watching professional esports gameplay on TV or on Twitch, or watching VODs on YouTube, that's a lot of what they're watching. They're watching gaming content, oftentimes esports content, and it's a great way to, if you can actually sponsor / advertise effectively as a major brand, it's a great avenue to build that brand loyalty, that brand awareness, that you can turn into kind of lifelong customers and sales and whatnot.
Yeah.
Some people are very bad at that. You get really, really cringy commercials sometimes.
Well, I saw Freiburg posted a video for, was it Samsung? No. It was some shaving company, I believe. He did like
Gillette?
No, I don't know if it was Gillette. It was Freiburg he plays for Optic now, CS:GO, and he posted a video on Twitter. It was him shaving, and it was kind of a funny advertisement, and I thought it was well done. Like, it wasn't overly advertising-y.
Yeah.
It was kind of unique, and it just made me think of Philips, that's what it was. Yeah, not Samsung. I don't know, Samsung. I don't know where I got that from. Yeah, Philips. But it made me think of all of the, modern day celebrities like LeBron James or, the regular traditional sports athletes that do sponsored, ads like that. It's the same exact thing. And these esports athletes are getting just as famous. Like Freiburg is hugely famous in CSGO scene.
Yep.
He's got a huge following. I saw one time he posted a video on his YouTube, and he tweeted something out like, "I just got 10,000 subscribers in a half an hour," or something like, from posting one video. I'm like, holy crow! But what I'm trying to say is they have big following, and advertisers are starting to notice that, and they're like, "Hey, these people have big followings, so we're gonna start sponsoring them and giving them products, getting them in ad placements and stuff like that," and they're like celebrities. That's
absolutely. I mean, they are, in my opinion, they are athletes, and they are still working on getting the same level of paychecks, but that'll come as the scene matures and continues growing. But it's the same thing. You pay LeBron James to wear your shoes. You pay Adam Freiberg to shave his beard with your razor.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. Just looking at his header, it looks like Optic at the moment is sponsored by Brisk, Turtle Beach, Turtle Wax, Chipotle, Scuff, DX Racer. So that's 3 non-endemic brands, right? Big non-endemic brands, and Chipotle,
and
Brisk, and I think Turtle
Brisk,
Wax.
Turtle Wax, if you guys are listening, this ad placement is not free, so you got to send me a check.
Yeah. And by Brisk, I meant actually their lesser-known company, Borsk.
Yeah.
So good on it, Brisk.
Yeah. Now, what's your advice for getting into esports? Like, you were able to get into esports coming from an IT background, what is some advice you have for people who are trying to do the same thing, to get into esports?
Yeah. Honestly, at the moment, it's a little tough, but very worth it. If at the moment, there's no set schooling kind of path or educational path or career path to get into esports. If you want to be an investment banker, there's a set education and career path to get there. If you want to be, some type of manager, same thing. Pretty much any career, the majority of careers have a very set, this is the path you need to follow. And esports really doesn't have that. There's no best degree to have for esports. There's no best college to go to or best, although that's going to change soon with all the collegiate esports scene growing up. But there's no best previous job to have to get into esports. So, what worked for me and what I think is the best way is you're going to just, if you want to get into esports, unless you have a ton of experience in some very relevant skill, like you have 5 years experience in marketing and the video or gaming industry, you have some sort of skill that would translate over very, very easily. Mm-hmm. You might just go and get a job when you see an opening. If not, if you're in college, just out of college, or are trying to switch careers, you're just going to have to accept that it is going to take a decent bit of time, good amount of work done a lot of work done probably for free or best case part-time / freelance, but probably for free. And you're going to have to do that until you build up enough experience to start charging people for what you're doing. There's no way under the sun that, when I was starting the amateur esports organization, that I was anywhere near in a position to actually provide value to EsportsOne. I just, I was passionate about it. And sometimes, and that's a lot of it, but it's not enough. So, there's no way, if that position had been open then, I wouldn't have applied. I would have been passed over if I had applied. So you need to be willing to either join an existing project, join an amateur esports organization, join a site that produces esports content, do something in the scene, create your own project like I did, or join an existing project in a volunteer capacity, work there for a while, gain experience, constantly whenever you hit a roadblock, and you're going to hit a lot of roadblocks, for me, I hit a lot of marketing roadblocks along, over the last 3 years, and it's all just, you need to learn how to research, you need to learn how to learn things on your own. Might be harder, some people are good at this naturally, other people's aren't as much. If you're in college and you kind of have your schooling dictated to you, you're used to having your schooling dictated to you and your assignments, and you can find it in your textbook sort of thing. You need to learn how to learn on your own. And then, just put in the work until you have enough experience where you're like, okay, I actually feel like I'm providing value now. You will hit that point where you feel that way. And then you go out and you look for, maybe from free to a part-time position, and then maybe you go and look from part-time to full-time, and then you quit your job.
Awesome. That's really great advice. Now, we'll close with some closing wisdom from your perspective on esports in general, and what do you think the esports industry needs to continue to grow and be successful? A few things. I think that collegiate esports, the development of collegiate esports is going to be pretty key to that, because then, I think eventually high school level esports as well. Shout out to my friend Tyler Schroeder at EGF, the Electronic Gaming Federation. He actually just closed a deal with, let me pull this up. I'm only shouting out because this is actually in relation to what I was saying. There's a lot of Googling tonight. We're doing a lot of Googling here tonight.
I apologize.
No worries. We're getting our Googling in. I like it.
Oh, yeah. A friend of mine, Tyler Schroeder, he's the CEO of EGF, the Electronic Gaming Federation. The state of Connecticut now is officially partnered with his company.
Awesome.
on developing a high school esports infrastructure. So I think that's going to come as well, kind of after the collegiate esports scene develops a little bit more. But I think that's going to be key because it'll help. I think, that's how traditional sports works, right? Generally speaking, you get some people that are, freaks of nature and they're recruited out of high school. But generally speaking, you play in high school, you play in college, you go up through those brackets, and then you're recruited from a training camp or something to professional or out of college. And I think esports, as the collegiate scene develops, will move to a similar model. The other thing that kind of has to be figured out in tandem with that is how to increase esports professionals' lifespans, specifically for the competitors. Counter-Strike, many pros have been in the scene for a long time. But if you look at like League of Legends, there's like 2 people maybe or 3 people that have been around since season 1. At the very least, I can count it on one hand. Mm-hmm. Of people that have been around since the beginning of League, and that's like 7 years. And the average lifespan of a traditional athlete is longer than that for sure. At least that long, but I'm pretty sure it's longer. But the average lifespan of like a League of Legends pro is something like 2 or 3 years. And it's burnout, it's lack of good kind of self-care / health, which is sort of being tackled much better now than it has been in the past. But whether it's someone developing carpal tunnel really badly and not being able to play, or
sure.
Just burning out from the game, or anxiety because of it. The burnout rate is just for whatever reason. It's not near as physical of a sport, but you have a lifespan that's a fraction of what traditional sports athletes are.
Yeah.
So I think solving that in tandem with, because if you have like a 2 or 3 year average lifespan of an athlete, then like half their full half to all of their lifespan is going to be gone by the time they're out of college.
Yeah.
So once you can solve that problem, then college kind of becomes that natural training, recruiting ground for professional organizations, which I think will be a big thing. And then moving into traditional media as well.
For sure. And that's something that's interesting to me because it's something that's going to take a lot of time, mm-hmm. to figure that out, because like you said, the lifespan of professional or amateur players is something that's going to take years and years for it to get to a point of maturity in terms of what you said, like self-care and personal development and those kinds of things. It's going to take a while to flush that kind of data out and get to a point where we're seeing, 7, 8, 10 years plus professional athletes, esports athletes. So it'll be interesting to see for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And then on the marketing side of things, one issue that I've always heard talked about from the owners of professional organizations, and that I've experienced myself, is when you have a major, like a huge brand, like again Brisker, generally non-endemic brands, but large endemic brands too, like Logitech or something. When they come in and they're going to offer you a 6-figure, 5-6-figure sponsorship, they want to be able to track those KPIs that we mentioned earlier. They want, Logitech wants to drive keyboard sales, or they want to drive, their equipment sales, right? So they want to have a way to track that the money they're putting into an esports organization mm-hmm. is going is actually, how much are they profiting from that? Are they, making money on their investment there, or are they losing it? And they're used to being able to have, generally traditional advertising. You put a banner ad up on a website, you can track all the clicks that go through that, all the sales that go through that. You can track it very down to the kind of a fine grain level. Uh-huh. But you can make social posts, or even put an ad up on your site that has that. But there's so many different avenues, right? It's like, oh, well, you get to put a logo on the jerseys, and you get to have a picture on the overlays on the Twitch streams, and there'll be a link beneath the YouTube videos, and we'll tweet about this once a month and do product placement and 2 YouTube videos a month or whatever, right? So it's a lot of kind of more abstract advertising value that they're getting, and it is value, but it's sometimes hard for them to grasp or measure that value with how young the scene is. So as the scene continues maturing, I think they'll get more used to that, and or better technology will be developed to track that value. But I heard Steve, the CEO of Team Liquid, talking about that at a conference I was at, and he said one test they would do with potential sponsors that they were working on signing was they'd say, listen, let us shout you guys out. Let us put links beneath the Twitch streams and shout you guys out on our Twitch streams for an hour of streaming, and watch your site traffic, and you'll see it go up. I promise. Mm-hmm. And he's we would literally do that with some people because there's no good way to, or there wasn't a great way to track it, but so they actually had to see it to believe it. So
yeah, it's kind of validation for them, and it's kind of like a use case. I mean, it seems like it would be a good test, say, as part of the sales pitch or something like that for bringing on a sponsor. It's hey, we'll demo you for X period of time, and this is going to be when it is. Check it out, check your traffic, check whatever metric you're analyzing, figure it out, and if it provides them value, then they see in real time that, hey, this might be a good investment for them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. We'll have to have you on again sometime and talk about more marketing, branding topics. I think we could spend a lot of time on a lot of different. I love talking about that stuff, so we'll have to have you on again sometime, and we'll go in more depth into a specific topic or something like that, or maybe do some more Q&A from listeners or something like that.
Yeah, sounds good. Q&A, diving deep onto any topic. How to start an amateur esports or how to start an esports organization is one that I'm constantly asked. But any topic, marketing, branding, I would love to come on again. It's been a pleasure being on.
Awesome. Finally, last thing I just remembered was I saw something on Facebook. You got a magazine in from, what is that, iGamers? Tell me about that real quick.
Sure. So, God, a little bit of a backstory. Before when we were preparing for our landing page launch for EsportsOne, where we were going to allow beta signups, when we were preparing for that, a large part of that was preparing a PR push, kind of figuring out what publications we wanted to get into online, and reaching out to journalists and setting all of that up, pitching stories and setting all of that up, that's another good topic to talk about because a lot of people think that PR is pretty mysterious. So in the course of doing all that, one guy reached out to, responded, and we did a little interview back and forth over email. And then after a week or two of, checking out their site, not seeing anything go up, reached back out to him hey, any sort of time frame for when this is going up? Just want to be ready so I can promote it on our end. And he replies and oh, that's actually going out in our physical print magazine. And I was like, what? I had no idea. I thought it was going up on their website just as a kind of normal online article, but nope, it was going to physical print. So
did you say what's a physical magazine? What is that?
What is the name of it? Yeah. What is that?
What's a magazine?
Hold it. So it's got it right here. Unfortunately, this is video, but it's called the iGaming Times. It's a UK-based gaming slash sports betting magazine. That's cool. And so they talked to me generally about just kind of how the effect that EsportsOne and our platform will have on the esports betting industry. That's
cool. Anytime you get published, it's got to be kind of a neat feeling.
Yeah, that's I've been in several online articles, whether it's about EsportsOne or previous projects, but that's the first time I've held something that myself or my company was mentioned in. So
yeah,
that was cool. a very surreal feeling.
Awesome. Well, hey, Jordan, thanks for joining us tonight and dropping some wisdom and perspective on us. And I really appreciate your time, and I hope to have you on again sometime soon.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Just hit me up whenever. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah. And with that, I just want to remind everyone that if this all goes as planned, this show is just the beginning. Hey guys, real quick before you go, I just want to say thanks for listening and supporting the show. It really means a lot to me that you like it, and I hope that if you found some value from this podcast, that you'll share it on Twitter or on Instagram or Facebook, anywhere that you have a social media presence. I would love it if you would just share it with 3 to 4 people that might be interested in it. It would absolutely mean the world to me. It would help me get my name out there, help me get the podcast out there. I do this solely for the love of esports and for the love of getting to know people and hearing the stories of esports that I think are so awesome. So please, if you got value from this, if you enjoyed it, please share it with someone who you think might like it. And with that, I will see you next time. Thanks for listening. I really appreciate it. 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 I really appreciate it.